everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be discussing the Final Fantasy VII Remake demo that just released on PlayStation Network, and today I'm joined by the one, the only FishFriedCat.
Hello everybody.
So, first of all, this demo was absolutely incredible. I went into it with pretty leveled expectations, but honestly, when you actually get to play it and feel it and just absorb the environment, it's just completely mind-blowing. And so the first thing that I really want to talk about is one of the things that just left this lasting impression on me. The game really and truly feels like you're in Midgar.
That is not a lie. Aside from the omission of the aesthetic elevator, you feel like you're in Midgar, and we can get into that.
Yeah, it feels atmospheric. It feels atmospheric in a way that a lot of Final Fantasy games haven't in the past few years. Like, one of the cool things that they're doing in this game is that they have an entire team just dedicated to the lighting and making sure that the game feels like Midgar, which is absolutely insane, honestly.
So I didn't actually know they had a whole team dedicated to lighting.
Yeah. Like, that's how serious they are about making sure that this game actually feels like you're in Midgar. Not just from a obvious story perspective, but from an intuitive feel to really capture the atmosphere that the original Final Fantasy VII had. And one of the reasons that Midgar was atmospheric was also the music. And this game also nails that to absolute perfection. Just like there's this battle theme with inside the Maka reactor, and it's just, man, you feel the Final Fantasy VII in this. It has that feel, and even though so much has changed, it really has just been kind of mind-blowing. So what I want to know is, did you feel immersed into this game? And if so, what allowed you to truly dive into Final Fantasy VII Remake?
So everything that you said so far, the lighting, them keeping that primary color of Midgar, which is green, absolutely love it. The music, I know you got on my case a lot of times because I was very doubtful about the music when I first heard it, but now being able to play the demo and then hearing some of the songs that were uploaded to YouTube, it kept its atmospheric feel despite feeling different than the original soundtrack. And the biggest thing by far that kept me so immersed into it was something that Final Fantasy 15 started, was the banter between all the main characters. Yeah, and I feel Final Fantasy 7's banter is already within the first hour. And I don't want to crap on 15. I still love the game to an extent, but oh my god, does that banter blow it away.
The banter was so good. Every single line that Jesse said was handcrafted by God. Legitimately. I felt like every single line that was wrote for her made me fall more in love with her character. And she's now one of my top waifus of all time.
Oh, I'm gonna have to fight you for that one.
I mean, she was just great. There were so many lines where she was just for example, my favorite one was when she was I have to keep talking. It makes me less anxious, or something like that. That's my favorite line from her in the demo.
Because I love Jessie. Whenever she kept talking and telling me to hurry up, and then right when I was about to say, shut up, please, Cloud just says it for me.
My other favorite line from her was when she was this route will take us directly to Barrett, probably. I was
yeah, I thought that was the second time.
Yeah, there's this really subtle humor in the remake that it's a lot of dry humor.
Oh, so Jessie, amazing, and obviously I'm so glad they're giving her so much attention, especially for the remake, because I did as a kid I had a crush on her. But the real star of it was Cloud and Barrett's banter. Holy crap.
Yeah, it was sassy.
Sassy. And by far the best line was when Barrett goes, so what, you 20 something? And Cloud's first class. What? Yeah, soldiers' ranks don't go up to their 20s. Then Barrett just had this sassy response and oh, I did not think I would love Barrett this much.
Man, yeah. Barrett really took me by surprise by just how much I love his character and how it's presented in this remake. You know, I liked Barrett in the original, but I wasn't in love with him, not to the extent that I find myself in love with him in this remake. And that's the thing that I love so far about this remake, is that it's like the characters that I already like or I already love, but then it just goes a step further and does the right things to make me love them even more.
Yeah, so like Cloud, so Final Fantasy VII was my first like actual video game. So that's why like it has such a near and dear place in my heart. And Cloud, I thought was actually the standard for that genre. But then like I play so many games, I'm like, nobody's like Cloud. And so I felt Cloud was like the best character of his time. And then now that he's coming back in Remake and like he's just being even more fleshed out, he's cocky, sassy, all that. And I'm just falling in love with him all over again.
Yeah, Cloud's attitude in here combined with this sassiness is just absolutely great. I feel like even when you can switch characters, I still will probably prefer to play as Cloud most of the time, even when we do have a full party. Even in the later games, I just still feel very comfortable in his shoes. He feels like home to me, if that makes sense.
Yeah, you cosplayed him.
yeah, I did. So that contributes to why. But there were just so many details when playing this game that it really took me by surprise. You could really tell that a lot of love went into it. So there was actually this situation where I was playing it on my live stream and I accidentally knocked some boxes over. And you know those lasers, right? That you had to like run through? If you knock the boxes into the lasers, it'll actually like electrocute the boxes.
Really?
Yeah, really. And at that moment, I was like, Game of the Year.
No, I didn't get to watch your stream, and I'm sorry about that, but I had work. But did you know if you're an absolute idiot like me and kept running into the lasers over and over, Jessie like starts mocking you a lot.
Yeah. I bumped into it one time and she basically called me out on it.
They get worse if you keep doing it.
Oh, that's even better.
Like, so when I went back for my second playthrough just to kind of take everything in, I'm like, I'm not running through the lasers this time. And I kept running through that last set of lasers and she started laughing at me again. And I just want to like cry and leave because, you know, my beautiful new wife, she's making fun of me and now she's going to divorce me and take everything I have. It's not fun. Yeah, I mean, that's why we love her.
Yeah, that's why we love her. We love Jessie. But yeah, it's like those little details. You knock boxes over. I think I lost it when I found out that the trash bags also had physics on them and you could knock the trash bags over. Dude, it's just it's those little details that like you realize that, oh crap, they really like put love into this game.
Yeah, and this is more cutscene, but like I think it was Soldier who pointed this out to me, that there was like a line in the original after like the first Mako reactor blew up, and then I think it was Jessie saying like the bomb was not supposed to go off, like it was not supposed to be that big, and then in the remake we get to see like their little Fisher Price bomb just kind of have like a pathetic explosion, and then Shin was like, we'll help them out.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So that's actually going to be a little bit of a new plot thread, I believe, where the Shinra sort of like makes the bomb go off a little bit more, whereas it was kind of up to Avalanche's blame. I think that they're trying to make the protagonist a little bit more redeemable with this story change, where basically, I guess if the protagonist kill that many people, it sort of makes them harder to redeem, or makes Avalanche harder to redeem as an organization. So I think they're trying to say, hey, really, it was Shinra who did all the bad stuff and hurt all those people. So
yeah, and it all falls in line with I guess later when they try to blame everything on Avalanche, like they can go, well, we can lose one reactor to put more pressure on this group, because I don't know if they know at this point like how small at least Barrett's sect of Avalanche is.
Yeah. And so that's actually going to be really interesting. Jessie also made a comment where she said the main cell of Avalanche won't contact them. So, I mean, it's pretty much implied that the main cell of Avalanche is going to be some people that we come across, most likely in part 2.
Yeah, and that was actually something I really wanted to see happen in the original game. Like, I was a kid, so I kept thinking that like Avalanche was a person, not like the whole organization. I thought like this one guy named the group after himself.
They always alluded to Avalanche being like a bigger group, even in the original, and then it just sort of never was. And then they expanded on it in Before Crisis, but
yeah. No, I hope they actually bring some of that Before Crisis stuff back, because from the little bit that it caught, it was actually interesting.
Yeah, some of the Before Crisis stuff is by far the most interesting in the compilation, actually. Combat was also another thing that just completely... This is the best Square Enix combat system that I've ever seen. Developed by Square Enix internally, that is. So, not counting games like Nier Automata, which was developed by Platinum Games. To me personally, this is probably one of the best battle systems that Square Enix and their internal studios have ever honestly made. It might be one of my favorite Final Fantasy battle systems of all time too. I don't want to speak too early, but it's been a long time since I played a battle system and felt this has everything.
I don't want to sound like a hypocrite, because I always bring up the unique thing about Final Fantasy is that it changes every game. Every game feels like a new IP, so of course like the battle system won't stay the same, but can it please stay the same if like 7 Remake turns out to be amazing?
Yeah, I honestly want to see something like this in Final Fantasy 16. I want to see it get expanded and sort of do its own take on it, but yeah, this is like basically what I want to see in all of the next Final Fantasies going forward.
Yeah, and oh my god, like the attention to detail, like the animation, if I think like in some of the footage I was watching with the apps battle, like I think I saw like Cloud use the weight of his sword to just like throw himself into an attack, and then just watching like all the animations like in the demo, and then just him flinging Shinra grunts into the air, like oh my god, that was so satisfying.
Yeah, it really does. So like one of the problems with Final Fantasy 15, it doesn't really feel like you're hitting anything when you're hitting it. Like it doesn't feel satisfying. In Final Fantasy VII Remake, it truly feels satisfying every single time that you hit an enemy. Like it feels like the weight of the Buster Sword is like going into the enemy. And it's something that's so satisfying and makes even the smallest interactions in combat feel good, like really good, especially when you have like one of the grunts and they get knocked into the air and then you swing your Buster Sword back down, and like it just knocks them to the floor and their body like literally goes into like this ragdoll physics where it just like shakes and it goes away. And the death animation is actually particularly cool. I don't know if you noticed, but if you remember, Kadaj dies in like Advent Children, where he like dissipates into like life stream particles. That happens to grunts and like other enemies when they die, living enemies in the remake, and that's so cool.
Yeah, it's actually kind of reminiscent of what were they called, the Fireflies in 10?
Yeah, actually, yeah, the Fireflies, yeah, it reminds me a lot of that. If they ever do like a Final Fantasy 10-3, which they always kind of tease, like that's almost how I expect the animation quality to look like.
God, yes. And then you really get to enjoy the animation, like whenever you go into like that tactical mode to choose like items or your magic or limit break, and you see everything slow down just enough to where it still has that like cool kind of when you beat a boss in Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah,
like,
that's exactly it. Yeah.
And then like you really get to appreciate the animations, just seeing them in slow motion. And then like I also thought I would hate that slowdown and like want to change it, but at least for the first playthrough, like it's been really helpful. And like there's so much going on that I kind of can't like accurately, I guess unless I'm locked on, but pick who I want to shoot fire at or anything.
I thought I would be like, dude, I'm using shortcuts. Like, I'm not going to touch the command menu that much. I'm going to use shortcuts. And then when I played the game, it was like, no, I'm not using shortcuts. I'm using the command menu.
Yeah, I forgot there were shortcuts.
Yeah, I did too. And even when I went back through it, or even the first time when I was playing it, Lynn, like the chat was like, hey, you know, you can use your shortcuts on L1. And I was just like, no. I felt like whenever I activated tactical mode, I was actually being tactical.
Me and my wife was actually sitting with me while I was playing, and like she made the comment before I could do it. Whenever I think it was when I was fighting the guard scorpion, actually, like I start going into tactical mode and everything, and have to do all this stuff. She goes, "Wow, this is really such a button mashing game, huh?"
Yeah, it's definitely not. Speaking of which, though, I have to say, this game actually has difficulty to it in a way that Square Enix and like Final Fantasy games in particular have not had in a long time. Like the Guard Scorpion is what's normally considered by FF7 veterans to be like a very, very basic enemy. I mean, he's the first boss in the game. I mean, every FF7 fan can run through him with their arms tied behind their back. He's just a very routine boss that anyone can do from their memory. However, in this game, he is absolutely not. He is actually pretty challenging.
Actually went through half my potion supply. Like the first time, I felt the difficulty especially for the opening is what gets me. It was like kind of easy, but it was like difficult enough to make you actually watch your health and just like actually worry about what you're doing. And the guard scorpion, like even though like I've watched the video of, you know, people playing the boss fight over and over, like that fight still kind of threw me through a loop.
I must have watched the footage for that boss fight, especially while editing, over 1,000 times. And then when you actually get thrown into that boss fight, it's completely different. Like they make it look like so like straightforward whenever you like watch the demo footage of it from like E3 and stuff. But man, when you're actually playing it, you can get your butt handed to you super quick if you don't know exactly what you're doing during every phase of the fight.
And my second playthrough, like I actually only had to heal one time, like through that fight, because like I was kind of able to, it lasted long enough that first time I was able to grasp all the phases of the fight, but that was like my second time playing through it.
Yeah.
If the intro boss to this game is like actually this difficult, and I know some people are probably going to be like, oh, well, he wasn't difficult at all, but for Final Fantasy, this is difficult, especially after playing 15. Like, yeah. I can't wait to see like how Airbuster, Apps, or Abzu, whatever he's called now, and all the other bosses, like I cannot wait to see how hard they are.
Just the fact that you can't heal at any given time is like, that's enough to shake things up like right there. Because how many games have you played now where at any time you can press the pause menu and use your potions? There's a lot of games like that. And to have this like cooldown on your items, your magic, and like all your special abilities, and it's all linked together. And basically every time that you have that ATB gauge, you're making this very, very conscious decision of if I'm going to use something that will actually kill the enemy or if I need to heal myself. And it's that trade-off and that decision that's constantly going on in my head. Should I try to strike the enemy right now or should I heal myself? That really adds to the strategic depth, because the difficulty itself makes you use all of your options, which is what a good game with good balanced difficulty does.
Yeah, and I remember talking to you before I played the demo, and you mentioned how like you can dodge roll, like you can cancel out an attack with a dodge roll, but you can't go into a block. And I realized like how much that difficulty would be trivialized if you could just cancel out an attack into a block.
If you could cancel into a block, the game would immediately become tremendously easier.
And then the dodge roll itself, sure, you can do that, but you don't have much range on that dodge roll.
Yeah. So whenever the guard scorpion did like his electric attack thing where he sort of shocks the floor,
yeah,
you think that like, okay, I'm just gonna like whack him a few times and then I'll dodge roll out of that, like cancel the animation, right? Whenever he does the attack. You thought. The range on that attack is wide enough to the fact that where you can't really dodge roll out of it. And unless I haven't done this, but it might be possible. It might be possible to dodge roll at a very specific time and get an iframe so that it misses. But other than that, you have to know that that attack is coming by predicting his patterns and then just know not to go and attack the guard scorpion at that time, which is almost like how like when his tail is up in the original.
Yeah, there was a trade-off, and I noticed, and it could just be coincidence, but I noticed like whoever you're currently controlling, that's the person who gets aggro. So there was like this very satisfying feeling of like when I was fighting the guard scorpion, for example, I kind of got like caught in his barrage of attacks. Like when I was playing as Barrett, so I swapped over to Cloud and just ran up behind him and just wailed on him and just kind of kept going back and forth with that. And I felt like it made the fight a bit easier and it was like more fun because I wasn't sticking to just one character. And I love how the game makes you kind of in a way, not really, but kind of forces you to play as everyone. Because I also noticed if your AI partner is just like attacking, his ATB gauge will not fill up as fast, but when you swap over, it just kind of like shoots up. I really love that they just incentivize you to just constantly switch it up and not stick to one character. You still can, but you'll have a bit of a harder time.
They incentivize you to really play around with it, which is so cool. Like the guard scorpion, even clinging to the wall itself, is basically a way to get you to say, hey, switch over to Barrett and use like some of his long range, like his more powerful long range attacks, and then you can hit him from far away. And so the game is constantly forcing you to mix up your strategy because you can't just sit there as one character and do that one thing over and over and over again. You have to learn to be versatile.
Yeah, and bringing it over, and I apologize, but bringing it over to a Western game real quick, Spider-Man for PS4, that game, like the reason why I love the combat so much is because they would, like you would think you could just like do one thing over and over, but then they would start like doing waves of fights and sending in different enemy types, forcing you to change up how you go about it. And like I'm getting this feeling from Final Fantasy VII Remake, and like, oh, I cannot, I wish I never played that demo. I'm just gonna say because
yeah,
like,
I understand.
I'm gonna sound entitled, but like we were supposed to have that game tomorrow, and even if I played the demo today and the game came out tomorrow, it would still be a long wait.
Yeah, this demo somehow made the wait longer. Like I was excited for the game, of course, before playing this demo, but now I'm excited for the game in a way in which I played it and I know what it feels like. And so I feel like I'm actually excited for something that I understand now on an intuitive level versus something that I just know of intellectually.
Yeah, that was my biggest worry going into that remake, because I know everybody says it's fun. It's still subjective, and like you got to judge for yourself. And the fact that like I played the demo the first time during my lunch break, and then like when I went back to work, the whole time all I could think about was the demo. So when I came back home, I immediately played it again and took my time with it, took in everything, and now I still want to go back and play it.
Yeah, I just completed my second playthrough of it, and I still want to go back and play it. But I just want to get your final words on Final Fantasy VII Remake. Overall, what do you think about this demo? Did it blow you away? And are you more excited for Final Fantasy VII Remake now? Just generally, how does this make you feel overall?
If you want to know how much I was blown away, like how much I blew up with excitement of watching this demo, just go watch the last cutscene in the demo. Like, go watch that reactor explode. So after the demo, like I said earlier, I wish I didn't play it because now that wait's just even longer. And we've had such a small taste of like the new combat system and everything. Like we didn't even get to mess around with materia. So I just like, and even summons, I'm surprised like they didn't put like a summon in the demo like they tend to do. I cannot wait. It's going to be an amazing game, unless it's bad, which I don't think it will be. But if it is, I'll probably just be angry, but I'm gonna love it for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I feel you. My thoughts are that this demo has truly set the bar going forward for Square Enix's games and what their quality should be like. This demo was nothing short of absolutely mind-blowing in every single way, down from the graphics, the details of the environment, as well as the lighting and the atmosphere created by the music. The combat is actually challenging and has a bunch of depth. I genuinely believe now that the game won't suck. The game's content might not be the greatest, but I do believe that the battle system at least is going to be great.
Yeah, and you know what? Whether or not the game sucks, like the fact that just from the demo I got like this much excitement and it's a small part of the game, and everything I've been hearing about like how the devs just, it feels like a passion project and you can tell. So I just like would really wish I could just thank the devs for actually making this game and like putting putting in that hard work, because it seems like they know what's on the line for a game this big.
Absolutely.
And I'm just glad they're taking their time with it.
All right, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to this Ultima discussion. If you enjoyed listening to us talk about all this stuff, you should also be sure to check out FishFriedCat's latest video where he talks about tempering your expectations for Final Fantasy VII Remake. A link will be both at the end of this video and in the description below, and I have to admit, it's a pretty good video and should probably level you out a little bit. There's a lot of great humor in there, so if you like a lot of good Final Fantasy humor, just good JRPG nerd humor in general, you'll probably love this video. All right, until next time, everybody, take care.
Bye bye.